There's
Is this over or
there's
no?
agendas on the counter if you need an
Oh, okay.
agenda.
I think so. Instead of the finances, that
Yeah.
way we can, and then maybe move B to A.
Yeah.
And then go over the budget. That sounds like.
I talked to Kelly, he said he'd be here.
Mike's late, so he'll be here. It says,
Oh, he's on?
Yeah.
Oh, good, we can start then.
Yeah.
Mr. Lovato, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can hear you guys.
All right, very good. We'll get started then. We'll call the meeting to order. Mr. M, if you could do a roll call, please.
Yes. President Rea,
Here.
Vice President Romero, Secretary Cordova, Member Lovato,
Present.
and Member Cisneros.
All right.
So we do have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you all. Move on to the approval of the agenda. I'd like to propose that we move new business up to in front of the financial reports and also move under new business, item B up to item A.
Mr. President, I'd also like to remove item C.
You good with that, Mr. Lovato?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I'm looking at just making all the changes here. Yeah.
Okay. Remove item C from new business.
You made the motion.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it. Jamie?
President Rea,
Yes.
Member Cisneros,
Yes.
Member Lovato.
Yes.
Under new business, Mr. Cisneros, got the floor.
Good, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Superintendent, Gabe Cisneros. I'm here to update what's going on and where we're going and tell you about, met with the senator, with our representatives, met with the staff, with the superintendent, with you guys. So right now, I'm just very comfortable with the first item that we talked about is security. So we're talking about 400,000 to 500,000. Feel very comfortable with that. Now we're working. LFC met last week in Santa Fe, and that's where they're discussing all the budgets for the schools and everything. The thing that the superintendent and I are working on is to get your priorities as far as the schools, the critical priorities, emergencies, what roofing, mechanical, electrical, whatever you guys have, and then we want to hit the governor for a big project for that. So they should have, you've been hearing, there's a lot of money. Let's see what we can do. But I already feel very comfortable with the first item that we talked about. And we're going to set up a meeting. We were going to have it here, I don't remember what day you said, but Ortez, the representative, was out of town. And she's out of town this week. She's in California. But on the 4th, if anybody wants to go, we might have a luncheon here at the Monte Carlo or in Taos, wherever it's feasible for you guys to meet with her. Or I can just bring her here, right?
That's January 4th.
Yes. she said she was fine. And I'm open for questions. Right now, what we need to do is, I know the needs of the school district is tremendous. I don't know if you need like equipment, school buses. There's all kinds of things that we could go for. But I know that one of your priorities were the schools and, you know, meeting handicap requirements, electrical, mechanical, all that. We need to just, hey man, how's it going? So, I stand for questions because now it's getting to the nitty gritty. We start next month. So we need to start drafting up our legislation, right?
Mr. President, I got a question.
Sure.
So, one of the plans, Mr. Cisneros, you're saying that looks pretty promising was our safety plan. Like, I think one of the things that's gonna help us is, Mr. Maldonado's already started to put our own money to show that in good faith that the schools are in good budget capacity for certain things. Because we did go ahead and hire our own officer, but now with the help of with the capital outlay, the monies that are out there, I think now we can improve and make sure that our school is fully secure, fully safe, and we're definitely doing that piece. And I just wanted to mention that part that we're doing what we can with what budget we have to show that in good faith that the schools are doing everything possible to ensure our kids are 100% safe as best as we can. So I just wanted to put that out there to let you know that if you have a talk between now and the 4th, that the Questa schools are taking these steps forward and could really use their help.
Very good, very good. Where are you, Jose? I don't see you.
He's on the.
He's on the line. How's it going?
Good. I came down with the freaking chest congestion cold like no other. I don't know where it came from.
Okay. Very good, very good. Now I know where you're at. So, to answer your question, we're talking about 400 to 500,000, and you know, the superintendent was meeting with some of the consultants to see if that was enough, and I already have pretty much a good handle on that. So, if we go, and let me take this before, when the session's on, I know that you guys are going to have a school board association meeting over there. Maybe we can have dinner, or we can meet there, or what?
So that would be a good question, and actually I just reserved rooms and reserved the registration for that. But if you could set up the meetings with the representative and the senator, that would be helpful. I know we have a slotted time from like 9 to 3, but if you could set up something with them.
Where are you staying, so that if we can go over there and meet, we can meet there, we can have dinner, whatever.
I'll tell you what's called the
Sage?
Sage Hotel.
That's kind of close there to the plaza.
Okay, okay. So I'm just offering that as an invitation. When you're there, we can have an hour or two. We can sit down and go over the final plans that you guys want to do. Because once we're there, we can submit bills for different items, but it's going to be the ones that you really want as priorities that we want to go for.
So, do we give him a list, same list we gave the senator?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do we have anything for the, I'm looking at the list now. What about for the outdoor learning space? How's funding for that?
Well, there's going to be funding, but you guys are going to, I'm going to say, look, these are things that look very promising, and then you guys make a decision, because that list, there might be more things that come out that we can fund. But the one that we already have is that security, that I have been working on that for a while, and then the buildings. Whatever else, there's monies for the special education, there's monies all kinds of things. How we're gonna plug it in is, I'm gonna be working very closely with him, the senator and the rep, to see how we can get monies from the governor for that, because what they do is, they're gonna try to look at all the school districts and put monies here and there, but I want them to put the monies where you guys really need it. So that's.
Do you think it'll benefit us to have, the outdoor learning spaces full design in place to present, or do you think we need to keep our questions vague, I guess?
Tell me what that project's all about, and,
So it was kind of a full redesign of the back part of Alta Vista.
oh, okay, for the.
For the field and all that.
Oh, that's a good project.
If
That's
you've
a-
noticed, we've started, and we approved, and we got it, all the old stuff is cleared out.
Okay,
So it's,
so what do you need there? What do you want there?
We kind of got already, what did we say was gonna look like $500,000 to get it
And the minimum to 800,000.
Yeah.
to 800,000 to get and that's the baseball field, the football field, soccer there, a little amphitheater type of thing, so the kids could have plays outside.
I like that project too,
Cover.
because when I was here, that was, when I was in school, we had a beautiful, the football field and everything was nice. The
So-
track,
So the meeting that we did have with the senator, kind of to touch on that, what he said is kind of keep it vague to the point of an estimate of where we're at, with adding on about 25%, because that's been about what the inflation rate has been over. So that was kind of the meeting that we had back in October, September, somewhere in there, when we met with him, and he said, kind of keep it that way. They don't need the specifics until that money, we're just trying to chase that money right now, so don't give every detail. And so some of the things that we've been working on is actually, we brought out, PSFA, and PSFA's come and done an eval of our facilities to try to move us up on the list. Still doesn't take
and
the,
that's for repairs.
yeah, for the repairs, that still doesn't take us to we're a 90-10 district, but it at least takes us to the moving up of where we are, cause I think right now we are ranked, what, like 200 and,
We're at like 437 out of
Yeah.
450.
yeah.
So we're really bad on the ranking, but he came out yesterday, and then he'll be coming out in January again to the high school, so that way we can check to see where we can put ourselves in the ranking.
That's
For funding for that.
That's just for repair projects.
But it's for both, because even if we had to do any type of renovation, or if we had to do,
Any type of
construction,
funding.
any type of, so this also goes hand in hand with the 5-year facility plan that we've kind of talked about, and we'll have pretty quickly, was it on last agenda or next?
Should be on this one.
This one actually, that we will look at, because we have to get that done, because that expires now at the end of 2022.
So I kind of heard, I guess, and maybe Mr. Cisneros can elaborate, but I heard the one account that it's to keep it vague, you just kind of dollar amount, and once it's there, but if we go for a governor's match, we're gonna wanna see an outlay of what the project is, because I guess has been in the past where things get funded but don't get completed. So some of that money's starting to get taken back.
So yes, and that's something that we'll work on. I actually have another grant that we've been working on with, and it's through Heinrich's office. And this grant is to actually redo, I know one of our priorities was to do the heating and cooling and things like that. And this is I think it's like $64 million that has been set aside that will be awarded to 20 different areas that we can do. So we've been working on that, been back and forth with Heinrich's office to kind of give us the details of exactly what they want to see in it, how they want to see it. So that one is due back by January 26th, and we should have that completed within the next, probably by the time we get back from break. So that's gonna hefty little one, and it's anywhere from $500,000 to $15 million that they will give a district.
very good. And to elaborate more on what the question is that, we need to make sure that the schools, it's 80-10, the 10% you have to come up with, and, or where are we, 60-40?
We're at 90-10, and we come up with 90, and they state will pitch in the other 10.
Okay, because, we could, if we work our cards right, we could work it with them where, if they don't wanna do the 10%, maybe we can have the senator and representative put that 10% so you don't have to get it from your budget. So, that's good, that's a good question, very good. And prioritizing, now, LSC was talking about all those priorities that they have, but there's monies that they go south, why not north to the small districts? And they're trying, maybe we'll have a special bill just for small, school districts in the northern part. So, we'll keep an eye on that. So which one is your priority? This one here, or all of them, the high school? Which one is your priority?
As far as facility improvements,
Yes,
it would probably be this.
this one,
Stuff for sure.
okay. And how much do you think?
I think our estimate cost to get out the east of up to par was about, yeah, that on you, Mr. McDonald, the exact number.
Totally?
750,000 or something to that extent.
To
Well,
start,
that's not that bad, okay.
And that's just to get it up
million
to,
and a half to,
that was just to get it up to par, right? And then if we looked at that additional backfill, that backfill was about another
800,000.
800,000, so I think we're talking about like 1.8 million to get it. And that includes like redoing electrical, plumbing, heating, cooling.
Because they said they wanna look into doing a lot more ACs because of what's been going around with the colds as well as
Okay.
that they want all the school districts to have ACs in there so that way there's proper circulation.
Very good. What about the gymnasium, anything with the, or that includes
That,
it?
that
We do have
includes,
stuff in there too.
that includes it, but I do think that that probably needs kind of a little bit of an overhaul. We have an old ducting system that runs in there that is no longer in use, and we kind of get where that air, because it still drafts the air down through the pipe, so it will kind of throw it and throw out. Sometimes it smells, sometimes it's just, so there's things like that. And I think that maybe if we can look at that other grant that we're working on with Heinrich's office and seeing if that's something that we can collaborate into it, because that's a pretty hefty little thing, and that touches only on like air circulation, ventilation, that type of stuff.
Very good, because if we, okay, we have the, security pretty much online already. If we could, use the governor's, if it's 1 to 1.8 million to do that project, that would be your top 2 priorities maybe?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that we can start looking into that? Is that what you think, or you're thinking, or?
Yeah, that would probably be the top priority, and then, anything else would kind of fall into that wish list of what we would, if we could get more money into
Okay.
it, then that would be, but our top 2 priority would be especially getting that school back up to par and getting it to the way we, it needs to function. It's an older school, it's been neglected for a little bit, and we need to really get back on that.
Very good, that gives me a good direct.
They broke it out in phases, so, I mean, if this session, if we can get.
If we get 1 million, or if we get 700, you can break it up.
Yeah.
It'll last until we can try to source the rest of the money.
Very good, good to know.
Yeah, because like with the security end, if you can secure the 400 to 500, I did get a quote back finally on like the gates and stuff. We're looking at about 177,000 per gate. So that's and that's one of our main things.
For one gate,
Yeah, that's what I was
100,000? We have gates there.
Well, it's for gates, but, put electrical in it, run power to
Run
it,
power
and then
and
that way you
everything
have to have cameras that go into the, so it can all be utilized correctly.
We're looking at about 177 a gate.
Do they come made already, or do they make them?
They make them. So this company we're working with, they custom build everything, and it's to the spec of whatever, and it's cheaper versions. You can go with just a code that you punch in. There's some that you can buzz in. There's some that you can card in. What we're trying to see is if they can tie it to like our badge cards that we have now. Big part is that with emergency both fire and police, they have to have that built-in sensor that once they hear the siren, they'll automatically open. And that cost alone was like a 40-some thousand cost just to install that piece into it. So that's kind of where that
Okay.
can get.
But those are your decisions. Once you get your money, you
I'm
do.
thinking also, Mr. Cisneros, you probably know, or I know you had spoke earlier of other things that, well, we have our priorities, which is those security, infrastructure, and then our outdoor facility. Those are our top three.
Okay.
However, if there is chance, we could always, we still need a suburban, something like that to haul children around in. There's, we just,
How
smoke
much?
house, that kind of thing.
How much do you think?
We priced them out when we were at this last conference, and we're looking at about, what they tell us, about 64,000 is about where they were running right now.
Artillery.
At Tillery, and Tillery does have, they said they had like 8 on the lot, so about 64,000 is where we're looking. You know, I believe we can shop around with a few others, but Tillery's been kind of our go-to for things like that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I'm sure our maintenance guy is right there, could use a new tractor. Different, those type of things that if they're out there and we could grab one, absolutely.
See, what we can do is also just for equipment, you know, we can put tractors, vans, whatever, for the school district, and then we'll just put 100,000, 200,000 and see how it goes, you know, with that. But those are, we could break it up if you wanted to reduce security a little from, I already have that one like there for your security. But we could break it down a little if you found like cheaper gates and things like that, but let's not mess around with that because that's already pretty much in the mill. And then also the I don't know if the school districts, they said that there's going to be monies for roads and paving.
So we did get, and we applied for a grant through DOT, who did, and we do them in phases, and so we did get that, and actually we just talked to him this week, and he's working on getting something to us. And once we get that, then it will go to you guys, and it'll go out for RFP, right? We'll go out for RFP, and so, you know, it's a phase thing, but that is money for paving that we did get, and I believe our match is 25%, was it 25% match?
How much was the amount?
It was about 80,000, so it will cover like our top parking lot, and it will cover like the back road and things like that, so.
But that was for last year or for this year?
That was for last year.
Applications come out again.
Yeah,
Right, he's starting the process.
yeah, we're starting the process on that one too.
Because that's key, because they're gonna put a lot of money into DOT, and we wanna make sure that the school district gets money for that. And, maybe we can have them waive the match, because this is a depressed area, and maybe we can have them so you guys don't have to match it. So, good. It's looking good for you guys right now, but let's see if we can get the governor here to do that big project. You'll be in the $2 million for this year. So, but you're gonna be involved whenever we call a meeting in Santa Fe. We want you there. If we have to testify anywhere, because they wanna see the school district. They see us all the time there. If not, I'll keep you informed.
President,
Sure, go ahead.
do you think it makes sense, and this would be for all the board and Mr. Maldonado and Mr. Cisneros, would it make sense for us to have like a little portfolio with photos of the back of the school, how it's been cleared, and just show it's blank canvas? Same thing with pictures of the fence and the security pieces. Like I said, that way we're carrying a little portfolio, and they ask, well, let me see what it looks like. Well, just open the binder and you think, well, this is our first project, this is our second project, our phase. I think we gotta be a little more proactive, just have that ready just in case. It don't take nothing to get some photos printed up and put them in the binder.
It's a good idea, very good idea. Because that will go part of the legislative package to the senator and the representative, and or the governor.
Any more questions for Mr. Cisneros?
Where's the turkey for the holidays, or, you know, the Merry Christmas? Are you guys already, is it the school over for the holidays?
Today's our last day for students, so.
Oh, yeah?
I had a luncheon yesterday.
Oh, yeah? Good for you guys. And you guys were in Farmington, I heard, huh?
Yeah, last week.
How was it over there, cold?
It was cold, yeah. It was surprisingly cold.
Very good. Well, you guys have a Merry Christmas, and whoever goes to that meeting on the 4th, we'll see you on the 4th. That meeting. Adios.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll go on to the item A, review the 22-23 school year budget. Do you want to present? What?
We can, I do have, Amber on the line. Amber's our new, person that works with, the video group. She's the one that kind of handles our business end, so, kind of standing questions that you may have, or anything like that, as far as budgets, anything Ms. McDonald has, or anybody else on the budget end.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
I just wanna make sure, and I think it's a question more for Amber, I wanna make sure we're finishing up the first semester, so it's basically half of our budget. I guess the big question is, how do we sit, currently? How does the second semester look like? Are we, everything looking on par? Is our payroll, like, is everything hitting our marks the way we set it up to be?
Yeah, so as of, so these reports are as of November, but there is not much change, too much change now in December. The budget does look good, we are on track to spending. The only issue that I believe you guys all are aware of is the MOE issue. We are working on that to get it fixed, so we won't be having to owe any liabilities moving forward. But with that, we had to move all the ancillary services into your operational for now until we can get it resolved. So that is sitting all in your operational and the reports you are looking at. We do have some meetings scheduled with Questa from PED and hopefully the federal director up there to get this MOE issue resolved this year, so we won't have to pay any liabilities back. If we can, then I can move those ancillary services back into your IDMB fund, which will free up some more operational, hopefully to take into your carryover. Because I know, Mike, we had about $1 million in carryover from FY22 into FY23, so we would like to try to keep that carryover going strong.
So just kind of be clear, Amber, is that this will kind of be the last year that MOE is looked at, right? With the I believe it was like 755,000, and what our average has been about 440 to 450,000, and this would be is that correct?
Well, that's what we're meeting on to, yes, hopefully make that correct. Because right now there is a FY21 liability that is owed. We're trying to get it fixed so we won't have to pay that FY21 liability or any liabilities moving forward. Just because, yes, we will never meet that 750 MOE amount with your size of the district.
So,
And they are well aware of that, so
yeah.
that's why we have some meetings scheduled to get this fixed and resolved.
So kind of give you guys a spill on what happens there is your maintenance of effort is basically it falls into your federal programs, your sped. And so what happens is that they're making sure that you're spending an equal amount of money on your kids that are in program as your general ed students. And so there was a year like 18, 19, 17, 18 that they must have cut all services to all kids, or they must not have had any ancillary anything happening. And so what happened was then you went back and you then had compensatory services that had to be provided to these students. So your average would have been about 400,000. Well, because they added compensatory services, and from my understanding, you had a person that was being flown in and such, and so we were paying airline tickets and we were paying hotels and everything. So that popped our rate up from about what our average about 400 and some thousand to 750. So what happens with that is that number then is taken by the state, and not the state, the feds, because this is Fed money. This isn't state money. Taken by the feds, and that becomes your number that is used for calculation for like the next 4 years, 3 or 4 years. And so what they do is they look at it and they say, did you meet MOE? Which MOE is basically saying, did you spend more than the previous year? Because we know the cost of everything goes up, and so did you spend more? You try to keep it within a couple $1,000s of each other, maybe $10,000, but we went from 755,000 to 430 some thousand. That's where we got that $98,000 payback that we had. We honestly still haven't paid it because we're still fighting it. But this year we're also looking at about an $88,000 payback because we can't touch that amount of money. That's like 700. So that's where Amber and Mike and them are trying to work, and so is Miss Aragon. We're trying to work with PED and the federal director on trying to get that number, because there's like different criterias, and it's like a loss of students, a loss of staff, even at that, we still don't touch it even if we had a loss of staff, because an average staff member only generates about anywhere between 70 to 105,000 depending on levels of where they're at. So we would have to lost pretty much every one of our staff members to even be able to touch that. So that's kind of why we've been fighting this, and we've been holding off on paying, and and they've done an awesome job of setting up those meetings and getting those people on board and getting them what's going on, because our district will never be able to touch another $755,000. We kind of pulled the average, and our average actually prior to that was like in the 300s. So we've actually increased, but we'll never get close to 755,000, no matter what we did. We tried the playground, using the playground because that is ADA compliant and stuff, still doesn't make a dent into that. Yeah.
What do they mean? We have an answer?
Do you know, Amber, when you guys have that meeting scheduled, or has she scheduled anything? I know Clarissa's been a little hard to get a hold of and get with. Do you know like when that meeting's scheduled for?
We don't have a date as of now. Mike had just a phone call with her last week, and then we're just trying to get a lot of people involved, so I think that's what's holding up setting a date for that.
Okay.
And that'll take care of this 88 this year.
We're hoping it will. We're hoping it will. That's where right now it's a 50-50. It all depends on what they come back and tell us, and it's a shot. Like I said, we haven't paid from last year, well, the year before, because everything's a year behind. So the 90,000 would have been 2019-20, and this one would be 2021. So, right? 21-22.
No.
Yeah, we're 20. Okay, yeah.
So that'll bring our rate back down.
We're hoping to bring that rate back down. Yes.
Going forward.
So it runs on a 3-year
And
cycle.
it'll resolve itself.
So it's gonna
Yeah.
resolve itself, but in the
All
meantime,
the fines,
we ready
So
gonna
is this 88 the last year of the third year?
No, it would be potentially one more
it
year.
would be one more year. Yeah. So what it would do yeah, it'd be one more year, and that's why we're hoping to get that corrected, so that we're not looking at 755 and go back to maybe our 440, 430, because that's been about what the average has been. And then that will hopefully take care of that, because that we can hit, but 755. But in the meantime, if we don't get it, then we're looking at over 180,000, 170,000 that we're paying back on between the span. And then if we had it hit another year, which would be this school year, we could look at another 80 to 90,000. By the time we it's all said and done, we could have paid back almost 200 and some $1,000 back to the feds.
I don't have any other questions for Ms. Pena.
So first, what are we looking at tracking for carryover for this next budget?
As of now, your available balance is 452,000. So as long as, I think we already got the bulk of spending, usually that happens at the beginning of the year. That would be what we would take into the new fiscal year.
Okay.
That was 452.
We also don't have the final unit value, which will increase your budget as well. That will hopefully come in February or March.
Anything else, Mr. Lovato?
No, not that I can think of. I just want to make sure with that new security guard that that's not going to impact our budget as well. I mean, it's a huge hire. It's a great hire. I just want to make sure that it's a line item that's going to be moving forward.
So kind of touch on that, Mr. Lovato, because of the time that the new security came in, we had already budgeted, and we actually didn't exceed what we had budgeted for the start year. So come the next year, we do need to increase that position, so that it will hit that amount. But because we were already budgeted for, we stayed under what we had budgeted in, so it didn't take anything away from there. Actually, we left a little bit left over, even with, just because of the time of the year. When they come in at mid-year, a little close to mid-year, then we don't exceed the entire budget of that. But come next year, we will need to look at that position and actually budget in that amount that we're looking at right now.
Correct, right, okay, good.
But just by attrition and sometimes we don't fill positions, we'll have salary savings in general, right?
Yes.
That's what I was gonna ask the question of what, out of that 452, how much of that was positions not filled?
Can you answer that one, Amber, on the number of positions out of that 452? Which ones are those? Are FTEs or off of that?
I think it's about maybe 2 or 2.5 positions still
No,
either available or came in under from what was budgeted.
yeah, that's about right.
So we just filled them though, so they'll be half. Yeah. Yeah. Cause you just filled the one here and the one there. We're done.
We're hiring.
We're done.
Going, I guess going forward, like Jose said, we're gonna put that position in the budget. Do you see anything that you need to do? I mean, cause I know since I've been here, I've seen some stuff come out of the budgets that never happened. And we're borrowing that money. I don't know, I mean, some positions seem almost unfillable.
Do you see things, Kimber? I know you're more in that area there. I know we've had like those CTE positions and things, but we've actually been able to
Yeah,
actually start filling those now.
yeah.
Do you see anything else?
I think there are some things, like maybe even as we get into the budget committee, we could discuss consolidating certain roles. I don't think classroom positions, I think classroom positions are pretty steady. Direct student contact positions are pretty steady. And where we need them to be. I don't think people wanna go down. I think there's opportunities in the career technical education, the CTE, looking at partnerships to help fund some of those salaries, because we're back in discussion with Los Alamos and stuff on that. So that might be a place where we can, shift some of that burden. But I think, I sure wouldn't want to speak for elementary, but just, it looks like district-wide, we are well staffed, and I sure wouldn't want to riff those staff that directly impact students. I think we're good
And
for
not
those.
just this staff, but it shows we're at 7.1% right now, inflation rate going into the next year. Without really knowing the unit value, is how do we project what the cost of 2 years ago about this project versus how we can go forward? And it's like, unless the unit value raises at the same rate,
It's
you're
going
gonna have
up.
to make adjustments.
The unit value is going up, because we did see an increase in unit value. And we've seen an increase in a few other areas too, that the state has started really looking at, especially like additional trainings and things for teachers and stuff. So we've seen that increase in the unit value going up with it. I do agree with Ms. McDonald. I think there are some positions that we might be able to kind of consolidate and make into a dual position, things like that. And so I think once we kind of start breaking down with the budget committee on these actual positions, that I don't see interrupting the classrooms at all. And anybody that's like, hands-on with those kids, even like with our educational assistants, things like that, I don't see making any type of impact. We kind of have them running every direction as is. But there's a few other places, I know that we talk nutrition, things like that. We're looking at bringing nutrition back in-house, and that what could be consolidated into maybe a dual role position, because I don't feel that nutrition probably is an everyday 365-day position. So I think we can start looking at those type of things. So that's gonna pull the budget, with some of those things. And I think we have some other positions that we can kind of really take a look at and say, can we create, if we need to create, can we just put that position as a dual position, or how do we go? And even if there's any type of pay increase in there, it's still gonna be lower than a whole brand new position of creating a $40,000 position if we could go, two people or one person doing two jobs or whatever. And I think that might be the route we need to look at.
Because we were funded for the increases for how long? When does it run out?
That doesn't run out, it's actually supposed to be, but the problem, and I think that even Amber can kind of touch on that, is they fund you for the increases, they fund you for the pay increases, but they don't always touch on like your benefit increases. And so that's not gonna run out, because that's already been put in place.
Continue that.
Yes, that will continue, that increase will continue. And I guess part, and the Gabe's gone now, but I think part of legislation is they're even looking at it again as another increase, for teachers and things like that. And I think this one, they're actually touching on everybody, not just on teachers. And so with that, that's been a question, like when we've gone to the meetings in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, is you gonna do this again, but are you gonna fund it
Right, when
correctly?
we first did it, it was
Yeah.
supposed to be 3 years, right? And then we have to survive on our own budget.
And so they did away with that, because now you'll be completely funded throughout for that, yeah. So there's not gonna be a decrease in the unit value. It's gonna be an increase at this point, and then, like I said, it's depending on where. I know that the big talk has been to get closer to Texas. Texas just raised their increase their staff, prices again, or salaries again, so that's what they're trying to get close to again. I think we're within about 10,000 of them, and so if they can make a move. But the big question is, please make sure that you look at it on all sides, that you're funding not just the salary, but you're funding the benefits and these things, because there's gonna be a continuous increase of our benefits. Benefits are gonna continue going up. I believe it's 14% over the next, 3 years or something to that extent. And so 14%, yes, the employee pays into it, but we also pay a portion into that too. So when they see an increase, we see an increase. We're depending on salary, if you're 25 or below, it's 80/20. Then it kind of starts dropping down. So like your employees making over 50,000 or 60/40.
So that part of the funding doesn't, because I know the higher salary you get, the more your pension starts increasing as well, but we're not getting compensated. That's what you're trying to do.
That's the part that we're not getting compensated fully for. We are getting a percentage of it, but we're not getting the 100% back on that. When they did the pay increase on the first initial, it was kind of, they looked at like a level 1 teacher moving from 40 to 50. They did an okay job with the 40 to 50, but then once you started getting into the 60,000 and above and the 70,000, the match wasn't exactly there the way it needed to be.
What did you say that they're projected on doing now?
It's anywhere from another 10% to, I believe the unions have asked for anywhere between 10 and 25% pay increase. No, that's only teachers, but what they're wanting to do is have at least a mandatory 10% increase if it does pass for like your cooks, EAs, custodians, those. The positive thing is that there's gonna be a minimum, and we've already done a pretty gradual increase of those employees. So it may not hit the district in the same way because we've already made a big percentage above what the minimum was supposed to be at.
What, the Secretary of Education Steinhaus?
Yes.
I think he did say something like that, one of the conference about a 10% increase for all employees, custodians and everybody else.
So are we supposed to see that in this next unit values, or will that be the following year?
This will have to go through legislation, so if legislation passes it, then we'll see it, but we won't see it till the following year of unit values. So like where she's talking, we won't see it till February. We won't see any type of increase like that until the following February, so February of 2024.
I was just wondering in case we should start filling the budget based on.
I would say with working with the committee is we probably build budget A, budget B, if you know, looking at what's being presented to legislation and what they're looking at passing. Right now, like Gabe said, there's a lot of money. There's still a good chunk of money sitting around that nobody touched. And so with that chunk of money, they're gonna throw more money, but the problem is that the sustainability of that money has to be in place, and that's been always the concern. Right now, oil and gas kind of went up for a while, now it's coming kind of back, crawling back down a little bit. And so that's where, you know, and we haven't seen an increase of some of the other things that the governor has put in place and legalization of things and things like that. We haven't seen what that kind of money has brought to play. You know, I know that in Colorado it brought a lot to their districts and things like that, but we don't know if it's going to touch our districts or any district the same way that it did in these other states that did any type of move like that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Levante?
yeah, I would advise to have a plan A, plan B, just be cautious. I know when they did this rate increase one time in 2014, they said, oh, it's mandatory, we gave everyone a raise. And then they said, oh, we're just kidding, they pulled the money back, and we couldn't take the raise away, but it affected the district pretty heavy, because we'd already given it to them. I know this time they're helping fund it, and I just wanna make sure that if they're gonna do another raise back-to-back years, that they find a way to fund it more than the year or two that they usually plan out for. That's the scary part. They don't understand how it is for the small districts to stay afloat after year 3 and 4 and 5.
Exactly, and I think that's the big, and you know, we when we start looking at budget, which you know we probably need to hit as soon as we get back by February, start having a draft of these budgets. By then we should probably know closer to what the unit value is and what we're getting on that end, and start moving forward. We probably need to have A, B, C, you know, even at that, we don't know, it's a 60-day or a 90-day session? 90-day session. So this next session, we know is gonna kind of drag itself out a little bit, and there's a lot that's coming to it. They kind of sent us the platform already, and we were looking at it, and there's a lot being proposed in this next session, so I think we do need to have that and be prepared for whatever they do throw, because you're exactly right. It's just like that ESSER money and things like that, you know, this money is supposed to carry over for a while. We're already touching ESSER 3 at this point in time. And a good chunk of that money is going into salaries and to positions that we have, people employed in at this point in time.
Any other further discussion on budget? Nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Pena, for hanging out with us today and answering our questions. We appreciate you.
Of course.
Oh, for the bars?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well then, hang on a bit. We'll go over to, from new business to finance reports. We'll start with item A, which is the bars. There's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a bunch this month for all the carryover, since we got the draft financial statements. I am now able to budget for the correct carryover in each fund.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, sir.
do you want to approve all or individuals? How do you want to handle this one?
So there's a bunch, but recommendation would probably be to approve all, but,
All at once.
yeah, but,
You're comfortable?
yeah, there's, most of it's carryover money, so it's not.
That's what I'm seeing, is it's all the carryover that we went through on the ordinary of this.
Yeah, it's all carryover, that's fine.
I'm comfortable with moving forward with it, all of them at once.
Second.
President Rayo,
Yes.
Vice President Romero,
Yes.
Member Cisneros.
Yes.
Member Lovato.
Yes.
Yeah, your book.
No, this isn't your pre-approvals.
That was bars right there, right?
Yeah.
Item B. Accounts payable, approval of expenditures.
What's that first one?
Well, I saw that agreement, but that was the. What is this about?
Okay, so what happened was they deposited money into our account, and actually Amber can try to touch on this one too. They deposited money into our account, but the money wasn't for us, the money was actually for the village. And so this would be to, so here's your rec here, reimburse that first one grant agreement, L5003. Can you kind of touch on that, Amber, on what happened there?
Yeah, we had those two deposits, late August, I believe it was, and it took us a while to figure out where this funds came from, so we reached out, and with the help of the budget analyst, we got in contact with, the Department of Transportation. And then it was discovered that they sent us the award letters, and it was actually to the village of Questa, not Questa District. So then now we have these funds in the bank account, that we need to repay back to the correct entity, which would be the village of Questa.
Don't they owe us money?
That's what I was gonna say.
That's why we did think believe it was ours for the award letter that we did receive, but, this was a different, payout. I believe they do still owe the district some funds.
The DOT owes us, not, for the village, the other village. Is there a time frame on when we gotta give this back? Are they asking for it?
Yeah, there is a time frame because it's, I believe, did they tell us January something, January 15th or something to that extent? The village did.
Village, or else,
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened from there.
I would say that this is,
Then we'd get ourselves in trouble if we held it, though.
it's a pretty good sized carrot.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys, we haven't charged you rent in how long? Not dollars for rent. So this is a DOT mistake for no amount.
Yeah, it was a DOT mistake.
This just has to come before the board to approve to move it back.
To move it back, yes. So it's a total amount of 123, 196, 73.
I say let's keep it.
I'll make a motion that we return this money back to the village. It's not ours.
But possession is 9 tenths. How long have we had it?
Get it.
We've had it a while. It took us a while to figure out where it came from. That's why we did it. And I know that talking with Amber is that it took us probably almost a good 3-4 months, right? We've had it since like September.
Yeah, the end of the month.
I'm gonna start on our fence.
Best tenants are those that pay in advance.
That's right.
So they didn't even know that we had it, so we let them know that we had it?
Well, it's
Or
because
were they looking for it?
they were looking for it, but we reached out to DOT to try to get an answer to where this money came from. President Rayo.
Yes.
Vice President Romero.
Yes.
Member Cisneros.
No.
Member Lovato.
Yes.
They say yes.
Yeah. They already, the heck with the bottom one.
Yeah.
Polito gave it.
Forgot about this.
Alright, we'll go on to the next one. Coconut maintenance.
Rosie, give me a second.
SB9.
So this was winterizing the building. The initial time, and Robert, you can kind of touch on this, on what they told you on why he came out and,
Well, it was, because we had got everything up and running, so then we had to pull all the propane tanks. So then they ended up, I think, having 1 or 2 guys come out, took about a week for them to do it. I think it came out to about 6,000 total for the full amount.
so to kind of touch on that, the reason that this was is because when they redid all the work at Questa, when they turned the water back on to check everything, you flushed everything out, and so you had water that was running through the pipes, and so for them to completely winterize it, they had to drain
Everything
all the
over.
water and actually go back to putting the
Basically, antifreeze.
yeah, back into it. So what he did state is that if we don't go back over there and turn water on, we won't have to do this again.
Have they fixed the one radiators that were,
We haven't fixed no radiators, there's 3 radiators that are out, plus the boiler still needs to be worked on. What we did with insurance is they just replaced what was missing. We haven't put in anything to get what needs to be fixed, because we don't wanna put more funding into it if we're not gonna end up, using it down the line. If we have the state said that they would take over if they're gonna end up, or however that's gonna go along. Cause that's a good amount to be spending on something we're not using.
this just make sure it's guaranteed 5 years? Is it?
Yes.
Did they blow out the pipes?
They blew out the pipes to put, and I believe it's like $1,600 to $1,800 is just for the antennas.
Yeah.
So it's almost 2,000 just for that, the other 3,000 to 4,000 is for the week of being there. So they did blow out everything, the hot water heaters, the lines, as much as, and then they added it to the boiler system and that needed to be up.
They already did it all right.
Yeah,
What's
because
it gonna cost them to go back?
it's gonna be quite a bit, because like, we have those 3 that are out that we need to fix. That boiler is really old, so we're gonna have to get a new boiler to be put in there, because the one that's in there won't stay on. So there's something wrong with it. And then that's not considering anything else that we need to go and check on, because if we look at it, we have sinks that are leaking in there, you have toilets that are leaking, just like anywhere else. So it's gonna be a good amount to, just to get that fixed for it again, if we needed to use it at some point.
Kind of just ballpark it.
Boiler system, 50,000 to 60,000. Odds and ends probably another 20, so you're talking about 70,000 to 80,000. Ballpark, not considering if there's anything else that really pops up.
So your deal with hydrant and heating and that stuff, is that included in that?
It can be included in that. It asks me for schools, and so we just have to put in there the facilities, yeah, so it can be included in that.
I think that's a good call to put that in there, that way, if we get that building at least up and running, then we could have options to, if we do decide to lease it or rent it out or utilize it, and it would operate 100%.
Okay, yeah, I can get that added in
You
there.
have to look at something too for the parking lot and all that too, since it's been overrun.
I bet you that's in the next application.
Probably getting close.
Is that in the, where's that in rotation?
I don't know, cause I haven't seen the phase, I've seen the high school phase, but I haven't seen any other phase.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Oh, second.
Member Cisneros? Yes. Member Lovato?
Yes.
On to item D. Approval list for items 2025 here. First one, Pecos Valley REC 8. Career Education Enrollment.
Yes.
We're paying for the students to take the class.
Yeah, by law, we have to write off for a favorite ed class at the high school. It's only book work. Driving and
You do a good job. Maybe they'll put from the crashes.
No, students.
Students.
Everything's after the fact, where it happened. Well, I think it's-
We don't get a choice on this one, huh?
Yeah. We did, and we didn't get no interest back. I guess she was in Albuquerque and we missed in Albuquerque, and to do it here was.
I don't know if Chelsea should be through their process.
Well, and our kids still have to do hours with her, but they pay for that. This is just the course.
I had talked to her and she's willing to do like the hours, but yeah, she won't do the courses, but she had said she didn't have time, but if any kid needs individual hours, she was available.
Got a first by Mr. Romero. Second, Mr. Smith.
President Rea?
Yes.
Vice President Romero?
Yes.
Member Cisneros?
Yes.
Member Lovato?
Yes.
Next one, maintenance. You're out. Flow switch.
So the flow switch for Alta Vista boiler, for pump 1 and 2.
Why is there doing these boilers? I thought we,
They replaced one flow switch. They cleaned out all the boilers, and then they took two of the pumps, which they're also working on. That's the whole reason why they were out here in the first place. One of the two that they brought out ended up leaking, so they took that one back under warranty. But this is the one flow switch that they didn't switch out when they were here the last time. Most of what they did was just a cleanup, a yearly clean out of all the boilers. Probably close to 50.
they're about 50,000.
They're expensive
New one?
to keep up.
You're saying that 50 grand for a new one, 50, 60?
Yeah, but you have to maintain them. You still have to do every 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the boilers and furnaces. But you're talking about all new air ducts, everything.
Yeah.
everything.
Which one's the more efficient?
Yeah.
I don't mind the boiler.
It's more efficient now
In the
because
long
it's in
run.
there. But what's sad is that thing only runs one piece of the school. It only runs a part of it. So it's a lot to spend on one.
Just one room.
Yeah.
And this grant you're applying for would eliminate the boilers and go with.
It would, whatever we want to move to, it's supposed to be more efficient heating and cooling, and air ventilation, things like that, which is boilers probably aren't the most efficient when it comes to that.
No units in there or what?
That's what we're shooting for.
Even at the high school, we have a boiler system that has to be run all the time, or you lose your hot water to some location of the school, which doesn't make sense.
So those dual heated and air conditioned units, we would still need something for the gym and the Those are just individual classrooms, no?
You can go either a big unit with, yeah, out of your air ducts, you can run.
Jim
big-
has those elevated.
Yeah. So with your gyms, you can run, and when we had brought TLC out that time, we have the setup already with the way they're there. You would just have to tie into them, but the ducting and stuff is already there with the high school's
You just
ready to
need the
roll as soon
electrical.
as, yeah. As soon as if you were to move that direction, same thing with like the cafeteria already has the setup. It's just, you would have to move your unit, move it away from the boiler to the, you'd either go a dual unit with heating, cooling, or just heating, whatever you decided to
Do
go.
you think, well, whatever vendor sells them would come and do a
They have,
feasibility study to see which is the more efficient?
they have.
If so, we got that over.
We're
The
just currently
science
waiting
just
on
to
Kit
back up
Carson.
the spending is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they have, when TLC came out, that's what they did, the boiler to, compared to the, like a new furnace and things like that.
Do you remember what the cost savings would be?
It was pretty significant. It was in like a 5 year span. It was well over about 200 and some thousand over that 5 year span. And as you continue, the only thing is and even the maintenance on it, because they did like a maintenance breakdown of like what you're putting into a boiler on a yearly system. So even if you're having to replace like a fan or any type of thing in a furnace, and it was a pretty significant cost saving there on that as well. And I'll look for it because I'm pretty sure I still have it somewhere. And kind of share that with where that, and that was as of last year. So it might even be a little different now because boiler systems seem, when we have looked at a few, the prices kind of bumped up on those as well pretty significantly.
I think it might be a wise thing to get that together, so if we do put a portfolio like Mr. Lovato suggested to bring with us down to Santa Fe as part of our infrastructure capital outlay, what we chase for that school, at least there's a number. And not just a number, but like I said, the science behind the dollar bill of what we're gonna spend and why. It always makes more sense than just throwing a number out there and saying, well, this is what we're gonna get, but this is the reason why. Before moving forward, but I'll make a motion to approve this.
President Rea,
Yes.
Vice President Romero. Yes. Member Cisneros. Yes. Member Lovato.
Yes.
That was it. Move on to unfinished business.
So the reason this came back is I know that it had been approved prior, but when we take a look at this. This is a breakdown, the way it was approved at the bill increase of the 425. It wasn't 425, it wasn't based on a gallon, it was based on per mile. And so where you go from the current 310 per mile to the 425 per mile, it's a 38% increase in our budget for activities. So our current budget amount is $93,425. 83 of that thousand of that is for activities alone. 10,000 is for additional travel. And so if we did do this, we would need to add 35,501 to that budget, which would account for the 38% increase. So kind of an example is senior trip to Albuquerque would cost $1,282, which is 1,091.20 mileage and $191.25 standby time. At the 425, a senior trip to Albuquerque would now cost you $1,687.25. 1,496 of that would be mileage, and 191 would be standby time, which is an increase of $404.80 per trip. So the issue is that we would need to increase our budget by over 35,000 to hit that $404.25 per mile increase.
Mr. President, so what's the amount of savings that we have for these short trips that we should our bus now? Because I know when we did this budget, it was just the contractor.
It's not a lot because these trips are more of just our local trips and we get reimbursed on some of those as is, so it's and we've kind of already accounted that into there, so like birds and wings, is that what it is? Or, yeah. Birds and wings will reimburse transportation and so will the library. Is that what it is?
Rivers and birds, you're good.
Rivers and birds. Rivers and birds.
What is that?
Rivers and birds. And the library fund, or what is that? Library.
Friends of the library, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Friends of the library will pay for our transportation. So those are the main trips that we're using, like our local bus for. And so it's kind of already been added in. What we get back in the reimbursement has not been added into this. It might be a savings of a couple $100, to be honest.
Maybe a
because
couple
it's-
thousand over a school year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a.
Where do we come up with the 35 grand we borrow over?
So,
That would be the question of where we would wanna pull that 35 grand from.
kind of the question I got too, so that's based on about 30,000 miles traveled, right? So how many miles have we traveled so far? Is this 35 what we'll have left, or is that 35 added? Because we've already spent at the 310, how many miles have already been traveled, and how much of that 93,000 has been used so far?
So this would be over the entire year. 35,000 would be over the entire year, cause it would be a 38% increase from.
Right, so right now, if we had to add to the budget, the amount wouldn't be 35,000, because we've already spent in.
But you gotta remember next year it would be 35,000.
Yeah, this is that we're looking at it for next year, which next year we'll draw a new contract, right? This is, this,
23, so yeah,
so this won't affect it, when will this affect immediately?
this would be effective immediately.
So how much would we have to add to make it for this year, and next year we'd have to budget?
So to
93
add-
plus the 10,
to
is
add-
that 25?
Yeah, so to add right now, you would probably be looking at, because your busy season is now during basketball. Then we get your trips in the spring. You have baseball, who travels pretty frequently. We have the ski trips that have been budgeted into there
Well,
at this
the
point.
ski trips will now be used with our bus, right, because that's a short trip.
But it would only be a partial, he couldn't carry all because it would be, he makes a round, cause they do what, two trips, is that what he does?
On a
Pick
big
up,
bus,
Pick up, drop off, come back.
it would
pick
be
up,
4 trips on
and
a little
drop off.
bus, like, yeah,
Yeah.
at least, 4 to 6.
Should we give it a mix and have to do those four,
I mean, it could.
So,
It would save you 6
His
trips.
price that he has here, what's the comparison if you compare with Toyota or any of these other guys? He's still lower, right?
He's
Herrera
cheaper.
won't do
But-
less, last we
But
talked
he's
to
gonna
them.
be cheaper than Herrera because Herrera is also charges us a fee just to
To get
drive
up here.
over here, yeah.
Right, anybody's
And
gonna
then
do
they
that.
charge us a fee to go
Nobody's
home.
gonna charge. you
And last
free
we
to
talked to
come
him, he wouldn't. He didn't have the drivers to come.
Yeah. Well, no, nobody's gonna give their time for free to travel over here to pick up and they're gonna charge. This is their business, this is their life, this is what they do. I mean, I'm not trying to like vouch for or say that but I mean, in reality, Charlie's always been way cheaper than everybody that we've ever tried to go to.
I just wanna know, what would be the actual amount we have to borrow to make this to this?
So this is
right now.
Maybe 17.5, right? Yeah,
So we're almost
About-
exactly half.
yeah.
through this
We're
budget.
about half.
Maybe a
the
little
half
more,
the
maybe more like 20, just because basketball's trip heavy.
So when we raise money for athletics, does it go back into this fund, or where's that going?
We're looking at an athletic fund of 46,000, almost 47. That's for uniforms and everything.
Yeah, that doesn't go into,
And we had talked in the committee last year, which we didn't do, about breaking out that line item and separating the travel. Like, this is a ski travel, this is activity travel, this is athletics travel, but it didn't happen this budget. I think it would be smart to do it moving forward.
So do we have the ability to add money from the gate for transportation with sports?
We probably could. The thing is then now you're gonna eat away at that athletic.
I say, I'm not sure you're gonna hit both of those lines.
Yeah.
Like, if you're building up towards 47, that's just maintenance of athletics, I don't think you're gonna pull in gate receipts to meet that. Much
Oh,
less,
no way.
have,
It's just-
you know what I mean, so I'm saying,
Out of the negative, what it costs.
yeah.
We're gonna spend down that money anyway.
I mean, it contributes in having the concessions dump into athletics has helped tremendously,
So on this,
but,
this 47,
So, but the one thing you gotta remember though is you're also looking at, it's not per gallon, it's per mile, so you're
Yeah.
actually looking at an increase per mile, so that I think is, so like the breakdown you see there, just a trip from to Albuquerque, now you just increased it by $404 per mile. So I
Per trip.
well, per trip, yeah, per trip, well, based on the mile. So 404 per trip, and that's, I think, the one thing that you need to kind of look at is like, yes, the cost of diesel has gone up, but at the same time,
So it's also, I mean, petroleum kind of gives us a fictitious sense of how economy's doing. Diesel's going down now, it's gonna come back up. As diesel goes down, inflation comes up. So for this guy, his maintenance on his equipment, his diesel might have went down 2.1%. Tires and everything else is already above 7% from when we signed the contract. It's still up. So you're trying to manipulate the cost of fuel to try to bring goods down, but it doesn't come down at the same rate as fuel comes down. So I mean, it's still, you're still probably 30% cheaper than anybody else can get. But it's not based on the price of fuel. I think it's based on cost of business. So his business includes his equipment and getting the kids from here to there.
yeah, with maintenance and everything else, it's not just.
It's not just the price of fuel that dictates the cost of travel.
I'd just like to see where we're gonna pull to make this difference.
Just get a whole bunch of bars.
Yeah, both are already carryover, but
I would like to know what the exact number is of what we've spent so far, and she's still here, is she?
she's there.
Amber, yeah, she's still there.
she should.
Yes.
Expenditure of
Would you have that information for us, Amber, of how much out of our activity travel budget we spent and what we have left right now? We're up until November?
Yeah, and this is for the activity buses, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, give me a second.
So she's looking for that. Do we also have, I guess, any trips or anything that we plan now or foresee coming that we didn't see when we made the budget? Additional?
No, not really, because we added
we
it.
borrowed the ski on it.
The ski's there now, and so is the end of the year trips.
Yeah, and there's an understanding from, yeah. Like when
Usually what they'll
sixth
do is
grade, eighth grade, seniors go on a bid.
they'll cover the cost of like whatever the trip is, but usually the district will pick up the
The
cost of the
transportation.
transportation and.
That's kind of what's going on with skiing, right?
Still get the money.
You got a
No, you
grant
guys
for
paid
the.
all for it. Well, yeah, it kind of breaks out of that,
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought we were covering the transportation.
Pretty much.
Most of those, yeah.
So,
Yes, you did.
Afterward, we come down a little bit.
Should stay fair, like,
That's something I can
I'll
negotiate with
text them
them.
and ask.
Yeah, ask him. I don't remember.
Kelly would like to know.
I think the most ideal thing is, you join the meeting in the middle.
I know, I'm texting him.
So if he's looking at, we're initially at 310.
Town 355.
So he's looking at a $1.15 increase 360 would be your halfway point. 367.
And that way we're not looking for $35,000, now we're looking for
Well, even,
16 and a half or 17,000, which is a lot even better.
even right now though, Jose, we're not, that's what we're looking at next year, but this year we've already spent some, so it won't be the whole,
You wouldn't, yeah,
it won't be the whole 35.
It wouldn't be the full 35, but it's still gonna go up, so you're still searching for half of that. Because now is the expensive time with basketball and everything else going forward.
You got basketball, you got
Now
track,
it's expensive.
you got basketball, you got track. Track is done every weekend.
That's why we also have to look at increasing the meal amounts.
So you got a good meal, man.
When we did it, we were at 4%, but it's still rising.
Go 12 if you want.
What is that now?
10.
And usually those are not even nothing open when they're done.
That's the
That's a whole
problem.
nother issue.
That's a big problem.
What time they leave, what time they get back.
So from the last activity bus payment, which was, I guess, mid-December, we've paid out almost 35,000.
Yeah, see, the expensive season starts now.
That's it. It's definitely less than advertising. What was the total budget?
Not even been left in the track.
We have 90. We have 93.
Yeah.
And we'll expend pretty much all of that.
An additional 20.
Trips.
I mean, there's short things we could do, like you could shorten end of the year trips to be in Taos County, and we've done that in the past. You know, limited the distance and the standby time by saying you can only do, you know,
Like one of the best ones was the zoo.
yeah.
It's like the zoo, you can get reimbursed for, right?
If you go through the biopark, yeah.
You go to the bio park. Same with like the botanical
And so we can put those stipulations on, and you know, on some of them. But that's just that those are like the small
Yeah, these classes are
drops in the
fundraising
bucket.
too, so.
we're not gonna save.
The basket, it's your, yeah, it's ski, basketball, baseball, track. No. And we can seek community partnerships for that too, that's an easy
But
grant.
that's, without a doubt, that's only like 4, 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket, you're still gonna
Yeah.
look at I would say easy another 20,000 additional, based on this increase for the semester.
And I know he's up for renegotiation next year, but the thing is, I think if we go for 25 now, it's hard to go for 25 now and then try to
385.
drop that back down. So if we shot for 355, 360, and then turned around and said, next at the end of that one, 385, then
Right.
there's still an increase to that.
360 tells you, no?
We gotta negotiate till we get there.
Well, for the end of the year, you still will be required to stay at the free kid.
Yeah.
So no rewards or.
I think you negotiate, I think that's the smartest thing, is keep it down, I don't wanna affect the kids too much just because we didn't try negotiating.
Yeah, because if he said no, then he stays at the 310. And even at that, say he countered back and said 390, then 390 is still gonna be.
I think we're lucky that it was at 485. That's still a bargain.
just wanna say,
and it's no fault
even
of
if
us.
we did, even if we did go with this for 25, then we're looking at 35 grand for the next year, right? Where are we gonna, what fund are we borrowing out of to cover from this year?
You'd have to pull it out of that operational or that carryover, so.
So we're looking at a million plus another 1.2. Yeah, around there.
So you would pull about 35,000 out of that, which would be about 420 some, 415, something in that sense.
Plus utility idea with the cafeteria and some new positions, there's ways to save money.
I think we can do it, it's just. These are just the hard ones because we didn't budget for it. What's your suggestion?
Renegotiate it and come back and bring it back to the next meeting.
Fiscally sound, yeah, make a motion to renegotiate and come back.
Second.
President Real,
Yes.
Vice President Romero, Member Cisneros, and Member Levata.
Yes.
I didn't going anywhere then.
Huh?
Yeah.
So come back on a new business.
That's it then,
Could come back as new business because it was.
Motion done.
So we'll have to bring it back on the new item.
Nothing left is adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
President Real,
Yes.
Vice President Romero,
Yes.
Member Cisneros,
Yes.
Member Levata.
Yes.
Awesome. Before you guys leave, anybody, I registered all of you guys for the conference. It's the second through the third. Yes, February. If you do not want to attend, let us know before January, what was it, 16th? Before January 12th. Before January 12th.